Welcome to Conscious Intuitive Living. This is your host, Nathan Crane. At Conscious Intuitive Living, we focus on bringing you the best information, teachers, and events related to consciousness, intuition, abundance, and harmony. Today, we've got a very special person with us, calling in all the way from New York, close to the Hudson River, I just found out. Mr. Rick Jarrow is a very just amazing guy. He's transformed the way the world thinks about their work, their purpose, and vocation. And as the pioneer of the anti-career movement and author of Creating the Work You Love, he's helped thousands of people open to their intuition, transform their values into action, and answer their true calling. So stay tuned. We've got a great show for you. So with us today is Rick Jarrow. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. This is fantastic hookup. I'm here by the river that flows both ways in the Hudson Valley of New York, and beaming through.
Fantastic. So I know you're teaching a lot. You're doing a lot of traveling and workshops, and you've got some amazing things coming up. You've got a teleseminar coming up with the Teachings of Life, which we're hosting through the Panacea community, and we'll talk a little bit about that later and kind of your class. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got into the type of teaching that you're at now, currently.
You want the long version or the short version? You just tell me when to be quiet, okay? But it's a long story, but it goes something like this. I was a kind of all-American high school student. And that was good enough to get me into Harvard. And when I was at Harvard, I started just getting into deep anguish over, like, what am I supposed to do with my life? And I would look out the window at all these people running to work, and and I have anxiety attacks, thinking, am I going to have to do this? I had, like, the world of work just made absolutely no sense to me. People running faster and faster to nowhere. And then I ran into, fortunately, a kindred spirit, Henry David Thoreau, who had written, he said, "The society that I was made for is not here." And I said, ah.
Now, you obviously didn't meet him in person, did you?
No, through his written work, obviously. But the person who I did meet in person around that time was Ram Dass, who had recently dropped out of Harvard and had gone to India and done the whole yoga meditation thing. And hearing Ram Dass basically crystallized my frustration. And it was an interesting match because he was into transpersonal psychology and chakras. But the short story is I quit school, drove a cab for almost a year, and took the money and went to India. That's the short story. And when I was in India, I thought, as with a few other people I knew, I'd throw my passport in the Ganges and declare myself dead. But something stopped me from doing that. And at a certain point, I ran into a work of Carl Jung's where he was talking about the need to work through your own culture and understand your own cultural systems and forms. And I knew the Bhagavad Gita. I was learning Sanskrit, and I still didn't know Homer, Shakespeare, and the Bible. And it just struck a chord in me. And within 9 months of that, I was back in school learning. One of the reasons I was there, however, was because they were paying me. And that's very important. We're not into martyrdom here. So, short story, at the same time I was going back to undergraduate and graduate school, I got a degree in Indian languages and literatures from Columbia University. I was working with some remarkable spiritual teachers, not only in India, but in New York City. And one of them in particular, Hilda Charlton, who held court on St. John the Divine's Cathedral every Thursday night. A few hundred people would come. Her whole thing was, she'd say, what is the good of sitting on a meditation cushion and going into the glory if when you get out off your cushion on the street, you can't function? Mm-hmm. And I knew so many people who still were in the spiritual model that, God consciousness means I'm high and I can't live on the earth. And then all the people I knew who were high, they couldn't work. They were like useless.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people I knew who were working, they had no consciousness. And so the question I kept asking was, is there a way to put these things together?
Mm.
Is there a way to be conscious and still live in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the burning question that I began working with, and it began working with me, and the rest is history, you know. But I had a very strong sense that if you cannot manifest this in 3 dimensions, then why the hell are we here in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
I had some yogis in India. You know, my big question when I was a kid, I used to walk around asking everybody, why are we here? Why are we here? And no one could answer me. They say, don't bother me. Don't French fry my brain, you know. Go out under the heavens. Finally, I asked this very evolved, supposedly yogi in India, I said, what's the purpose of this world? And he said, well, the purpose of this world is to get out of it. And something in me just said, no, there's something more. There's something deeper about this world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what got me going. I found out later on that the same debate took place in the 12th century between the Manichaeans and the Christian church. And the Manichaeans said the world is illusion, get out of it. And the church said the world might be illusion, but the incarnation of Christ makes it real. If you can follow in that path, you know, that redeems the world. So if we can get out of the dogma and like universally apply this, like what does it mean to be a force of redemption in the world? What does it mean to really remember in the old days when I was in Cambridge, you know, Black Panthers, everyone saying, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it really mean to be part of the solution? You know, does it mean to get angry and take up arms and be resentful and be hateful? Is that the solution? You know, what is the real, you know, what does it really mean to be part of the solution? And I had the fortune of working with some great teachers who guided me and helped me start working on this path of manifestation and life alignment, that we are here, each one of us has our own very particular life task or tasks to accomplish. But those tasks, ideally, by living them, not only are we moving toward greater personal freedom and less greed, less jealousy, less hatred, more kindness, more compassion, but we're also creating a world that can hold this power for millions of people. And I would argue, since around the 1950s, you've had a series of events on this planet, Sri Aurobindo in India, the communes and revolutions all over the world, the 60s, you know, this sense that we are here in a special time and that we have a possibility of making a statement on this planet and making our lives really count for something. And that's kind of what's lights me up.
Yeah, I can sense it in the way that you speak about it. And I've also one of the books that I've read of yours, which is called The Alchemy of Abundance, is a very interesting perspective where you come from in regards to, you know, really alchemically transforming the abundance in your life. And your definition of abundance is a lot different than what most people talk about nowadays, especially spiritual teachers. You find a lot of abundance is more about focused on money and finances, whereas you come from this totally different perspective, which is where I completely resonate with. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. You know, the word abundance is a bit like the word God. It has been so abused that part of us just off, so, oh no, not again. Mm-hmm. And there is a tradition in America since at least the 1920s when we had like the riverboat confidence men selling snake oil on the boat, you know, trying to, oh yeah, follow these 10 steps and your life will be perfect. That's not what abundance is. Abundance is something much more profound. It's not an idea. It's the real experience. It's the deep experience that we belong here. And it's the deep experience that it is possible to live a life of meaning, purpose, and power. And that when you align yourself with the forces of creation, you're not guaranteed no suffering. What you are guaranteed is strength and well-being. And is there a measurement of abundance? If it's not your bank account, what is it? I would say The one clue of abundance, we can measure it by the absence of anxiety, because most anxiety is self-created.
Mm.
So in the most profound level, I would define abundance as radiant compassion, because the only way you can really have compassion for others if you are full.
Right.
And the big paradigm shift that I see on the planet that's been going on for hundreds of years, but now it's hitting the masses, is moving our psyche from scarcity to abundance, or as Abraham put it, from deficit cognition to being cognition. And to put it really simply, we are taught from day one, not on purpose. I just think it's bad habits. But we are taught by everyone that we're not good enough. In order to be good enough, we have to do this. We have to get an education. We have to get plastic surgery. We have to do, and that's coming from this deep sense of something's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
What and the way it gets applied to the world of work, it's a struggle out there, and you have to get X, Y, and Z. What if we flip that around? And abundance says your life is a gift. And when you receive that gift, you feel you're so overwhelmed by the beauty and the power of the existence that you just are inspired to give back. And that becomes your life's work. And you give that to your children, you give that on the job, you give that in the gym, wherever you go. So abundance is a radiant overflow that is possible when we are open to the fullness of universal energy. Now, that might sound like a cliche, but it's true. The problem is that we're not, that there's a lot of stuff in the way, whether it's from social conditioning, whether it's from past incarnations. So most of us are walking around sometimes feeling scarcity, sometimes feeling abundant.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, how can I move myself into greater trust, into greater openness? How can I allow myself to receive more goodness on every level? And the trick is the most, I guess the other piece of this that I feel is crucial is, do we have, each of us have the willingness to live our own life? Try to be someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get something that we don't have. When you're willing to accept the life that you've been given, and I've heard explained in the Zen, this Dogen, this great Zen teacher, in this book, Instructions to the Cook. He says to the cook, whatever's in the refrigerator or whatever they had then, take what's there and make the best meal you can. Most of us are saying, no, my refrigerator's not good enough. Mm-hmm. But take what we've been given and really make something beautiful. The thing about abundance is it's not just some namby-pamby romantic new age, there's some very real consequences here. And unfortunately, as well-meaning as Mr. Obama and Mr. Romney might be, and I put might because I don't know them personally, but we're having the wrong conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's deflecting us from the real problem. The idea of more jobs, more competition, growing the economy is deeply embedded in scarcity. It's the idea that if I don't work harder, work more, keep up with the Chinese, whatever, I'm going to lose. And that is, we've got to find a smarter way to understand how we deal with resources, with consumption, and with sharing those resources.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So this has real consequences.
And yeah, I mean, that's so profound what you just said, because, there's a realization that I've had over the last few years, which is this competitive consciousness that's kind of plaguing our society, which is keeping people disconnected and in conflict with each other, and it's something that keeps us distracted from the truth of ourselves. And as you know, when we opened the Panacea community, the whole purpose was to bring together people working in cooperation, helping support each other in our life's ventures, and experiencing life more fully and with more health and more understanding and consciousness. And so that's the new, well, I can't really call it new consciousness, because it's something that's been here for thousands of years, but I think it's new for many people that's starting to unfold around the planet. And I'm glad that, people like you are here to share that message. During your class, coming up on October 25th through the Teachings of Life. The title is Building Your Regenerative Economy. Could you share just a couple minutes really quick on that topic?
This to me is a core place that people are ignoring. People talking about abundance, people talking about wealth creation, people talking about happiness, people talking about relationship. But it's like the fish is in the water, so the fish doesn't see that he or she is in the water. We are embedded in this economy. And if we don't understand it, if we don't really learn and figure out what's going on the fundamental level, we're going to keep shooting ourselves in the foot. So what I look at is not the numbers, but I look at the psychology behind capitalism, socialism, sustainability, and I find all of them incomplete. Mm-hmm. It's not that there's a bad guy, it's that there's an evolution going on, and we are the next step in evolution. And what we want to look at in our own lives is the exact dynamics of how we exchange. Not only goods and services, but how we exchange energy, how we exchange thoughts. And one thing that we miss, everyone talks about production and giving, but if you don't learn to receive, mm-hmm. you're producing and feeling empty. So one of the things I'm going to explore is, what does it really mean to be able to receive fullness, richness, and well-being into our life? And not just in the namby-pamby phrase, but how can we receive illness? How can we receive challenging times in a way that actually allows us to respond positively instead of running away in fear? You know, there was a Zen teacher I sat with a long time ago. He's still around in Mount Boldly. He's like 105 years old, Joshua Sasaki Roshi. Wow. And he used to always say, what are you going to do when the earthquake comes? And, you know, most people say, I'm going to run for the hill, I'm going to protect myself, I'm going to ignore it. But it's interesting. When you ask what really propels people in their life, mm-hmm. generally it's not great inspiration, it's not the great vision, it's challenges. I have something I call the 5 Ds: death, divorce, disease, downsizing, and disaster. Mm-hmm. I have seen that when people receive these gifts, if they really receive them, it often pushes them on their true soul's path, on their path of power. I ran into a woman who started an educational testing service in the Northwest, and big business, having a great time. I said, what inspired you to do this? She said, I had to do something. So
she said what? You cut out.
She said, my husband left me. I had to do something.
Oh, yeah.
So my point is that abundance does not have to do with not looking at the difficulties in life. The economy is not about increasing productivity. It's about increasing prosperity. But can we really receive prosperity? Like, when you walk out your door in the morning, do you see the blue sky and go, oh my God, this is amazing? Mm-hmm. Most people don't have time for that. You know, anybody who practices serious yoga in this culture, they're a revolutionary, because most people aren't giving themselves the time to do that. So I'm saying, if we give time for the soul, if we give space for the heart, if we really open up to why we are here, then we're going to figure out not only work, but ways we can share with each other in a much more dynamic, synergistic, and positive way. It's not about working more. It's not about producing more. It's not about making more. It's about allowing yourself to receive more, because it's. So that's the short version.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, thank you. And I'm really looking forward to your class coming up. And so everybody knows, this is going to be a live teleclass that Rick's going to be sharing with us on October 25th. So if you're not already subscribe to the Teachings of Life. You can click the link below and go to theteachingsoflife.com and subscribe for free, and you can attend the class. There will also be a recording available for a period of about 48 hours in case you miss a live class, so don't worry about that. But I think it's going to be phenomenal. Also, there's going to be a link below for Rick's website. I suggest you take a look at that too. It's rickjarrow.com, and get involved with what he's doing. He's got some amazing things that he's working on, projects in terms of, pilgrimages and all kinds of wonderful things. So check out his website at rickjarrow.com. He's got a free newsletter you can subscribe to. And yeah, Rick, I really look forward to having you on the upcoming teleclass.
One more word I just want to get out there.
Please.
Great that if we could think about it, because it's come into the American language, and that is Dharma. What is the Dharma? And what does that mean? Kerouac wrote the book, The Dharma Bums, because in the traditional cultures, they told you what to do. And now we have to figure it out. There's no one up there to tell us what to do. But the beautiful thing about the word Dharma, what it actually means, the root means to sustain. Dharma is what sustains the world, what sustains the culture. So the question is what we're doing sustaining our communities? Is it not sustainability in the scarcity sense, but is it supporting? Is drilling oil and not putting anything back supporting the future? Things like that. I'm not against capitalism. What I'm for is energy versus scarcity, and exploring exactly how to find our own Dharma at different stages in our life, because now that we're living longer, we tend to have many Dharmas. So that's the thing. All right.
Nice. Yeah. No, your message is timely. I mean, it's a perfect time for all of us to continue raising our consciousness on these topics. And so we'll go into a lot more detail. We'll have about an hour to 75 minutes on October 25th to go into a lot more detail, and you'll be able to ask Rick questions of your own and dialogue and communicate. And that's what community is all about, is sharing ideas and learning and growing together. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Conscious Intuitive Living. Stay tuned for the next episode, and thank you, Rick. I'll talk to you very soon.
Nathan, for really inspiring me with your work, because I just think this is a beautiful concept, and I think it's awesome.
Fantastic. All right. Everybody take care. We'll talk to you soon.